And welcome back to another edition of Know Before You Owe. I am here with one of my favorite new friends who has been a staple leader in the broker community for a very long time. Meet Brendan McKay. Thanks for being here.
Dude, hell yeah, man. Thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Awesome. So Brendan and I are legacy lenders. Have been in the industry for a long time. You started, was it 2004 or 5?
This is my 20th year in the industry, which is a bizarre thing to say and think about. I don't feel like a 20-year vet, but yeah, this is year 20, man.
That's awesome, man. And you got recruited, probably the first recruit that could have recruited you did recruit you into this industry. It's your new company you have with your mom, right? Your mom's your partner, is that right?
My mom's my partner. So I was just on this story the other day when I was 16. I worked for my dad one summer. He owned a concrete contracting company, which concrete. The job is not pouring the concrete; it's ripping out the old concrete. So it is prison labor. Yeah. And after a summer of that, I was like, let me see what mom does, and went down that path. She got me in the business in 2005, and it. Long story for another day, but yeah, we opened up McKay Mortgage together, and have been rocking and rolling ever since, man. It's great.
That's so cool. And I guess you probably have a good, like, yin and yang. Like, you're probably, I'm guessing, the outbound hunter, and she's probably the gatherer, making sure everything you got is the right.
I will tell anyone that will listen, if it wasn't for my mom, there's no chance I would own a mortgage brokerage. I either be a loan officer at another brokerage or a retail shop. Like, I'm the sales guy. I bring in the business, and she makes sure that we stay in business. So she does payroll, compliance, the running of the business, which is something I tell a lot of loan officers thinking about making a move into the wholesale channel, is like, they all want to open their own brokerage. And it's like, maybe consider working somewhere else. Like, you're already same language, different dialect. You already have enough stuff to learn moving from retail to broker. Maybe hold off on becoming a business owner as well. Because you own a business. And thank God for my mom for that. So yeah, man.
That's awesome. Well, I don't think a lot of our audience realizes how much work you've put in besides helping families in DC and parts of the East Coast. You've also taken on a huge role co-founding a certain group called BAC. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Broker Action Coalition is a grassroots network. We advocate for mortgage brokers and their consumers in DC and every state house in the country. So it was founded 3 years ago. And basically this is, advocacy in general is something I'm passionate about, and kind of got the hook 6 or 7 years ago in the Maryland State House, and have been slowly doing, whatever I could, and was put in a position to really try to make a difference. So we founded the BAC, and I don't know, over the last couple of years, I've held over 300 congressional meetings. We're down in DC constantly talking to lawmakers, talking to other industry groups, a lot of talk, and sometimes that talk turns into action. But we're down there being the squeaky wheel as much as we can.
Thank you for doing that, because I'm here in California and it's a little hard to get back there to jump on a family and be like, hey, we have a meeting in 10 minutes. Meet you for coffee or a beer. Sorry. I'll be there now.
There's no shortage of volunteers that help, and I'm always looking for more. And it's like, boots on the ground. Wonderful. Like, and then for these meetings though, can we trust you in a room without us there talking to this stuff? It's not the same as the mortgage world. And then, are you local enough to get there is oftentimes the problem we have. So it's one I understand well. We're always looking for people that can get to DC and get to DC quickly, though. Hell yeah.
And what I love also about what you're doing, this is not just about like making brokers have a larger voice in DC, but it's really set around helping consumers and educating lobbyists or politicians or the House or the Hill, so to speak, about like what actually we do and how we can affect change if we're listened to, right? If they get our opinion or voice or understand the perspective we're coming from, hopefully it makes them make better decisions for consumers, right? So.
No, absolutely. And there's a few things on that. And like, we're talking to an audience of loan officers. I always like to meet people where they're at, and you need to do the same thing in DC or any conversation that you're having, right? Think about the people that you're talking to and what they care about. When you're a loan officer, like, hopefully when you have your first conversation with every potential borrower, tell me what's going on, what's important to you. Like, you need to hear that. And when you're talking to congressional offices, yes, they want us to do more business, but what they really care about is their constituents becoming homeowners. So if you can keep that perspective in mind, and anytime that you're making an argument, you're going to have a lot more success. Now, fortunately, we have a saying at the back that is, if it's good for the consumer, it's good for the mortgage broker. And that is true. All of these things that we're fighting for in DC, like, yes, it is good for brokers if they happen, but it's also good for consumers. Trigger leads being the easiest example. I don't need to have a single conversation with a congressional office about why mortgage brokers hate trigger leads. I can focus entirely on why they're terrible for consumers and why they hate them. And that's going to get you a lot more traction than going, me. Here's why it's important to me. Like, when you're talking to a borrower, you're not like, you should work with me because I'll make money if you do. No, of course not. Like, you want to say all the reasons that it's good for them to work with you, and it's the exact same thing.
It's awesome. It's like giving someone empowerment with education to let them make a choice and let them see a better path ahead, whatever that is. If it's making a decision to buy a house or not buy a house, or refinance or not refinance, or whatever, like you're doing that job on both sides, at the ground level with the consumer, and then at the higher levels with people making policy, which is super cool. And I really appreciate that.
And that's like one of our advantages. So we're the back's only 3 years old. I'm really proud of the progress we've made in a short period of time, but like, we're babies in this. And compared to some other organizations, they have some advantages between legacy and size and resources and stuff. But one advantage we have, and not that we're necessarily competing, we're usually like, we're pushing in the same direction on things. But one advantage that we do have is that when I'm walking into these offices, like I'm talking to clients in between them. We're locking loans, guiding them through the process. So we have a very different perspective than someone from a larger organization might be that is many, many levels removed from the consumer. And when we're in there, we're telling these offices that we're as close to the consumer, your constituent, as you are going to get without knocking on doors. And that's absolutely true. And that's powerful. That once again, that is what they care about, much more so than us closing a couple more loans.
Absolutely. And I think people make the mistake too of thinking a top producer in today's world is more important than someone that has influence. Because to me, like, I'd rather talk to the influence person who has the experience and knowledge and can persuade and make a difference versus someone that's sitting behind his desk, order taking, refinance leads kind of thing. So I was like, I like both, but yes, I like but there's
put it from that perspective though, because there is, an aspect in our business where you can do a ton of units but also you can usually look at like what's their comp plan based on it as well. But no, absolutely. So a little bit of both, but like actually talking. And what we really differentiate, the same thing you're saying, we say in a different way though, is the first thing we do when we walk into every single office is, do you know what a mortgage broker is? I don't care what they say. I'm going to explain it anyways. Like, and because I've had people go, yes, my wife is a mortgage broker. She works for so-and-so. And I'm like, ooh, that's not a broker. That's a local lender, right? So what we will oftentimes say is, when you're talking about brokers, it is small business leg of the industry. 1 to 5 people on average. There's certainly much, much larger ones, but you're usually talking about they're deeply ingrained in the community. Think Chamber of Commerce, think T-ball team sponsorships, not internet or television or radio advertisements and things like that. And that's exactly how we position it as well. Because what you were really talking about is the difference between like brick and mortar, which are certainly retail shops that fit that as well. But they're out there in the community. Like, they are getting business because they have a reputation within their community. And I think more often that's going to fit mortgage brokers than it might others. Of course, there's bleed over between the two, but that's kind of how we set the stage and define mortgage brokers in DC.
That's awesome. And let's talk about some of the policy you've changed recently. You mentioned trigger leads. For those who don't know, it's the annoying 58 calls you get the minute you apply for anything. Maybe even getting a, order at a restaurant. You start getting hammered with, spam calls. It's unbelievable. And then like you've made some other helps around some other categories. Talk to us about some of those things that you're working on now and you're excited about for the future, if you don't mind.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. So a trigger lead legislation, Home Buyers Privacy Protection Act. I've poured myself into that over the last 3 years, over 200 meetings alone, just on that one. Thousands of letters from mortgage brokers to their congressional offices, and it's done. It got signed into law. The president signed it into law about 2 months ago now. It goes into effect March 3rd of next year. There's a 6-month moratorium on it. And then that should largely solve the problem. A couple will certainly still trickle through if people opt in without realizing it. So the bill does have language in it where people can opt in to trigger leads. I don't know why they would, but
yeah, maybe if you have like an ex that you want to get back at, you would be like,
I honestly, it was a way to counteract an argument that the credit bureaus were making, which is this gives people more options. It's like, okay, cool. They want more options. Here's the ability to do so, and that's a part of the deal here. It's like DC, like everywhere else, is compromise. And if we have something stupid that no one's ever going to use on it, and it gets the job done, off we go, man. Like we're not going to let that stop the train on the track. But yeah, unbelievably proud of the work that the BAC did, as well as other organizations, Mortgage Bankers Association, NAM, National Association of Mortgage Brokers, put a lot of work on this legislation. And it was truly a collective effort by the entire industry, except for one segment of it being the credit bureaus. But everyone else was on board. It was 3 years. It was awesome. Got done and really excited the president signed it into law and looking forward to going into effect. So that was kind of like the thing that the BAC, made our bones on. We were working on other things, but that was something that everyone cared about. So you saw us talking about it the most. And there are a number of other things that we are actively working and going to continue to work on. But the next big thing that you're going to see us talking about all the time, because there's two categories of stuff we work on: things that are important to brokers and that they care about, and things that are important to brokers and that they don't care about, right? Like, so in the second category, like GSE reform is probably one of those. They're not clamoring about whether the GSEs are in or out of conservatorship, but it is very important to them. They just don't care, and that's okay. But loan officer compensation, LO comp regulations, is important to them, and they care deeply about it. So we're going to be banging the drum on that heavily going forward. We're in the beginning stages of working on a white paper about simple guidance repeal that we would like to see, and then long-term reform that we would like. So that's the next big thing on the agenda. And the number one thing on that is going to be, so we wouldn't be getting rid of the 3% rule because that sits separately in another piece of regulation. But in LO comp, mortgage broker compensation, lender paid compensation counts towards that 3%. And it simply should not. And we would like to get rid of that. And that would mean that brokers could make more than 3% or 2.75 effectively compensation on transactions. So that's going to be the next big push.
That's powerful. And again, that just gives us a wider array of tools to use for our consumers. People may think, brokers are going to make more money. It just means we have the ability to shift that around and have that be something that's discussed more. And as we know, like the world is shrinking with these portals, right? We have the Rocket Redfin, Mr. Cooper portal. We have the Zillow Home Loans one. But what I love what you said earlier is the average broker is 1 to 5 people ingrained in their community, just like the real estate professionals are, right? The ones that are top producers and have been there for a while probably are volunteering at the Little League. They're probably giving money to the PTA. They're probably in that same exact space, which is awesome. So there's a really good alignment there with the local broker and the local real estate professional. And that's probably why we see a higher percentage of purchase volume done by the broker community versus the larger banks, because they have a trust with that local involvement of, hey, I'm going to see Brennan tomorrow at soccer. I know he's a stand-up guy in the community, so I'm going to work with him and have my trust in him, which is powerful, right?
No, it's completely powerful. And it's like my reputation in my community. So like I use those examples for a reason. Like I sit on the board of my Chamber of Commerce. I sit on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also, I'll sponsor any local youth sport that they'll let me. And absolutely, my reputation is what gets me business, and it because it holds me accountable. Like I have to see those people if the transaction falls through, or I know that realtor is no longer going to refer me business if I screw it up. So. And that's true for every local originator. So yeah, hell yeah, absolutely, man.
That's cool. So if people want to get involved with BAC, how would they get involved? Would it be, if they're not in the industry, for example, do they reach out to the best mortgage broker in their area to start with, to get them to see if they're involved, to get them engaged, to get them to the state level? Tell me more about the process for that.
Absolutely. So there's a million different ways to get involved. I don't like throwing all of them out there because it's different for different people. We want people to get involved in aspects that they actually care about, not shoehorning them into something. And then they're volunteering their time for something they're not passionate about, and that builds resentment and yada, yada. So go to brokeractioncoalition.com. There's a tab right at the top that says how to get involved. And it lists all the stuff out there. And if you're not sure, there's a monthly call called Advocacy for All. And I would just recommend start there. Sign up for that, put it on your calendar, you join it every month. And you don't have to be an active participant. Like, just have it on the background while you're doing other stuff. And that's just a good way to stay up to date. We're going to tell you everything that's going on. We're going to run through all the different work the committees are doing and things like that. And you can just hear about different things, and figure out what your lane is. And if your lane is just paying attention and being a little more informed and not diving in otherwise, that's great too. Eventually we would love, for brokers, to start donating, a little bit more. We basically did this as, let's say, a trial run, but it's like, okay, trigger leads is what you want. Great. That's what we're going to focus on. Lenders are going to sponsor it. The majority of our funding comes from lenders right now. We appreciate them deeply. You can go to the About Us and see all those, and tell them thank you. But if the back is going to become the institution that mortgage brokers want and need, they're going to need to start paying for it. And that is a fact. It's a reason that we're in a situation where a lot of the regulation does not favor us. If you look at funding of NAM back in 2008 compared to ABA, MBA, NAR, any of them, it tells you a story right there. So if we don't want that history to repeat itself the next time the shit hits the fan, which is going to happen, brokers need to step up. And it doesn't take much. $5 a month goes an incredibly long way. There's a lot of us, which is a good thing. So that's the first way to get involved. And then what I would love to see people getting involved long term is to actually start paying for some of this work. Would be amazing.
Awesome. Well, I'm guilty as charged on that, so I will be invited going forward. So you'll see after this call in October, I will be a new participant or a more active participant. I can't thank you enough for what all you're doing for BAC. And again, it's not just about making brokers stronger. It's educating consumers to have more choice. Banks do not want brokers in business. There's a more efficient way of getting a mortgage. There are more choices in getting a mortgage. And unfortunately, those banks or larger companies that can't shift or pivot as quickly are losing market share to people like you and I that are passionate in our marketplace, can offer multiple solutions and make it be the consumer's choice, not here's option number one, take it or leave it. It's like, unfortunately, those days are done, and we all have different priorities and goals in life. And that's what I love about this industry, right? We get to help people. And that's why I started Know Before You Owe, because I want people to understand there are people out there fighting for a better way, a better choice, a better solution for your goals. And I can't thank you enough, Brendan, for being on our show today. Thank you so much. We'll put your links on. Work with Brennan if you're in the East Coast or any states he's licensed in. You will get a great experience. And it's always awesome to really collaborate with other professionals that are really good at what they do. So thank you so much for being on today. And can't thank you enough.
Yeah, hell yeah, Jim. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate giving the opportunity to speak on your platform and everything you're doing. So and I'm going to be checking for that donation come October. Don't you worry. From November. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a great day.